Welcome back to Morning Live. As I told you earlier, we want to discuss about the Global Shapers. Now, it's a community in Nairobi, of course known as Nairobi Hub. But now, it's a constituent hub of a global network initiated by the World Economic Forum for the purpose of giving the youth a voice to influence the state of the world. The community does this through engaging leaders in business, politics, academia, and other sectors towards shaping global, regional, and sectoral agendas. The community is made up of a global network of 376 city-based hubs located in 156 countries, including Kenya, which is home to both the Nairobi Hub and Kakuma Hub. These hubs are run and led by groups of exceptional youth from diverse backgrounds and of diverse expertise, and were driven by a desire to positively impact the communities which, of course, they serve. Mwende Mololo and, of course, Nyonjuhi Njoroge, karibuni sana.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Now, I'll start with you because now, when we talk about global shapers, it's kind of very it's self-defining itself, like you're shaping the globe. But now you see that there's some aspects of also the nitty-gritties that people need to understand. Maybe global shapers, what do you guys do?
So Global Shapers, we're an initiative under the World Economic Forum. And basically what we do is that we mobilize youth from diverse backgrounds to shape conversations and how they can shape their potential in influencing the globe, generally.
Wow, okay. Now, Unjuhi, you're the brain behind so much in the global shaping the Nairobi Hub. Now, for you, since the journey began, how has it been for you now?
Just to add on what Mwende has said, it targets the Global Shapers community is an initiative of the World Economic Forum. And it targets people who are below the ages of 29 at the point of joining and a maximum of 33. And I joined in 2015. The hub was initiated in 2012. I am currently the curator, outgoing curator. So every year we have elections. And we have somebody leading the hub for a year. So I have been leading 2018, 2019. And I exit in June, on the 30th of June.
Will you hand over power?
I hand over, yes I will. You've already done the elections. So it's been an interesting journey, leading the hub and being part of the hub as well. So we are a family of like-minded people. I joined because I was looking for people I could do the projects I was doing in the village with. And I was looking for a community that was doing the same, so that would help me scale. And I joined because this was that community. So we have 4 pillars in Nairobi. We have education and work. We have entrepreneurship and innovation. We have environment and sustainability, and we recently incorporated sustainable cities. So under education and work, we do a lot of mentorship in the rural areas because we feel that this is where 70% of Africa's population is, and they tend to be left behind in a lot of the development. So we've set up 3 ICT centers, 2 in Kiambu County, and 1 in Nyeri County. Under entrepreneurship and innovation, we have a project we call Biashara Rehab. The Biashara Rehab targets entrepreneurs who are between 0 and 1 year, just to increase the transition and the survival rates. So we've had 5 sessions in Nairobi, and we had one very successful one in Nyeri last year. And then we have under environment and sustainability, we have we do tree planting in schools. We call it greening and feeding schools. We have
so you use the pupils and students now to help you with the core business.
So they help. The reason as to why we target the primary school is because we're raising a generation of people who are conscious of the environment, and we also want to ensure that there is survival rates, because the kids will adopt the trees and ensure that that tree grows. And even when they come back years later, they'll be proud. So we plant both indigenous trees and fruit trees as well. And finally, Sustainable Cities is a project that seeks to bring sanity to Nairobi, especially with the public transport. So we won a global challenge.
Wow. Wow, interesting. Now, when you talk about the girl child, you see the inclusion of the girl child into such brilliant ideas you have, brilliant moves you're making. How happy are you, or maybe disappointed are you in now? You see, you're the pioneers. You guys are doing well. You're showing this young ladies example. But you know what's happening in our society? It's kind of very, very confusing. But listen to the young girls out here. Now, you as a societal mirrors, we actually looking forward for you now to kind of be the destiny shapers, to pull them through this now. Come here and of course let's do this together. How disappointed or happy are you with all the progress?
I could say I'm happy with the progress. As global shapers, under education and the future of work, we are focusing on STEM and empowering girls.
I even saw STEAMed.
STEAMed, exactly. And you know, with even Peter Tabichi, who is pioneering this in encouraging girls to take STEM, we have a project that we're initiating with I Am the Code, whereby we're helping girls take up science subjects and get into coding and all that. And careers have no gender. Girls have nothing to be scared about.
So they should stop slaying a bit and of course just come. Because the gram is full of so much. You know what I mean? So maybe Wanjuhi, let's talk about the code, because now as much as you have to attract these young people into science, of course mathematics, engineering and all those things, technology, STEM in short, I even saw that you included the STEAMed ED now. Maybe you can expound on this now.
So one of the ICT centers is in Kino Girls. This is a purely girls' school. And the reason as to why we targeted that particular institution was the girls that go to that school come from very disadvantaged backgrounds and may never have access to computers. In one of our ICT literacy classes in a small village at the foot of Mount Kenya, the kids had never seen a laptop before. We have photos of the kids struggling to open the lid.
When was that?
Of a laptop. This is in 2015.
2015, okay.
Yes. Wow, and that inspired our desire to have more people join ICT literacy, have more people on board. And we implemented the project in Kino Girls with GE. And this is one of the schools that GE is keen to adopt through their Women in STEM project. So this is science, technology, engineering, mathematics, just to encourage girls.
And you included design also?
Yes, design as well, because majority, you find that these are not courses that out there, the people in the rural area know. So you know you can be a doctor. This is what everybody wants to be. I want to be a pilot. You know, I want to be a banker. But when you introduce things like when you go for mentorship project, when you have a mentorship project, we take engineers and they are girls and they are women, and they see that it's actually possible, and they start discovering that I can be an aeronautical engineer. There's something like that, and I should be aspiring. There is so much more you can be other than just being a teacher, a nurse, or a doctor, and they're all noble causes. But then there is much more that you can be as a woman. It's actually very, very possible. So this came from us identifying a need in society for STEM and for more people coming on board and just appreciating that this is something that you can do. And in terms of creating employment as well, the reason as to why...
That's another loophole.
Yes.
Employment,
But you see, all you need is a computer and access to the internet. And sitting in your house or wherever you are, you can actually start a business. You can design websites for people, you can do software, you can do apps for people. So in terms of creating employment, and when you think about the transition from primary school to high school, we're also targeting the primary school, because even if you don't transition to high school, you have something you can do with your hands. So the ICT centers are actually open to the public. So that way people can come in, learn how to code. They can also develop these softwares even in these ICT centers. So this was the thinking behind us taking on STEM and ED as well. And we are working with an international organization called I Am the Code. We partnered with them to launch in Kenya. This was last year. And we are working with schools like Kafuku Primary School, We are working with schools like the one Shofko in Kibera.
Okay. So zile shule za ndani.
Zandani. In fact, even Kakuma.
Okay, wow.
Refugee camp.
Okay.
Because our overarching goal is inclusion.
Okay.
And the vision is to have 1 million coders by 2030, women and girls.
Wow. Yeah. Android and iOS.
Yes, and these are things that can be done.
Absolutely.
And we can do it even in the rural areas. There's something the government did, which is connecting schools to electricity.
Okay.
The last mile connectivity. And that is what we've taken advantage of. So schools in the rural areas, so we have schools, different schools in rural areas that are connected to electricity.
Okay.
So we use one of their classes and convert it into an ICT center.
All right. There's something going on in the country right now in the name of competency curriculum, actually competency-based curriculum, which is causing so much confusion. Now, as much as the teachers, majority of them do not want this new curriculum, you guys are doing so much. It's hands-on, you guys, what you're doing. But look at the response. Already, as much as you want some young girl out there to be an IT expert, someone is differing. Actually, someone doesn't want it to happen. Look at the changes we're having in this country. Education-wise, do you think what you've started will be very, very integral for this upcoming society? Because class 4, that's what it is. The current class 4 students will be last to sit for KCPE. That's it. So from what you're doing, do you think even the new CBC will now kind of incline with you guys and, of course, just catapult your efforts? Because at the same time, it's hands-on. You guys have gone to these schools no one has ever heard about. Like you've mentioned, no one has ever, like you went to a school, they've never seen a laptop. Like, do you think this new curriculum-based, the competency-based curriculum will now be accommodative to your efforts so that she's handing over power? One day she'll sit down and say, wow, I did a good job. Yeah.
I think that the competency-based curriculum is really very important, especially because the world is changing and there's a skills gap. And for us to bridge that gap, that's why there's Nairobi Shapers and what we are doing out there. And the fourth industrial revolution, we don't want to be left behind. And Africa is the next largest market. And if we can't adapt to that, then we have failed as a continent. So trying to bridge this gap by having the STEAM and having competency and practical solutions to the curriculum, we are trying to also push the government to join us and the teachers, because even teaching as a profession, it's not really seen as lucrative profession like engineering, law, what we are all pushed to do. But according to the SDG targets, we need 69 million teachers by 2030 to be able to achieve the SDG of quality education. So it's the curriculum is a really big agenda in pushing Kenya forward and Africa forward.
Amazing. We're taking a short break. When you come back right to Morning Live, you want to talk about, these things that can be done for free. Trust me, they need some kind of a pillar to push these agendas. Now, we'll be talking about their donors who've been their backbone, who've been supporting them. Of course, they've mentioned some, but still, they want to go to the specific of how they've been doing this, now even traversing to areas like Kakuma. All that after a short break. Welcome back to Morning Live. In studio, I'm with Mwende Mulolo and, of course, Wanjuhi Njoroge from a very, very interesting actually group, Global Shapers. Now, we're talking about Nairobi. They're doing so much, trust me. And from the earlier conversation, it's clear that indeed this country is headed the right direction. We have maybe around 3,000 such young ladies in the country. Trust me, this will be a very, very big movement. Now, as much as we're talking about the CBC, really, there's some very, very sensitive areas that we need to catch up with, because now our kids from standard 3, 4, maybe even 2 will be exposed to some things that when we guys were growing up, we saw them as very sensitive, and also our parents didn't want us to even talk about. Now, the CBC is here, Wanjuhi, and the exposure, as much as we're talking about the hands-on situation, there's an aspect of our kids being exposed to some issues earlier on in their lives. Now, I'll ask you a question. Will you be happy when your daughter or son at standard 3 being introduced to condoms?
Thank you very much for that question. We as a country and as a society need to stop burying our heads in sand. We've done a lot of work in the rural areas, especially in education and in schools. And when you go to these public toilets, you'll find them writing things behind the door that will tell you that these kids know more about sex than actually you do. We have schools in the city centers, and you find that a parent, that child lives in a single room. The single room has a father and a mother. And things happen behind the curtain. Sure. And these kids are exposed to these things, so they know what is happening. They know this. You'll be surprised.
But does it give someone a reason to introduce my kids to
condoms? Yes, and I will tell you that it's better when it comes from a grown-up and teaching these kids than it comes from their peers. So we need sex education as early as possible, and our kids are maturing faster than you and I did, and then we had fear.
Yes, true.
These kids do not have fear anymore.
Like
God, no, they don't.
Mbio.
Yes.
Mbio unatolewa pale.
Exactly. And I feel there are things I would not even try.
Even now.
Even those days, I didn't know what a boyfriend is.
And now you still don't know what a boyfriend is?
So times have changed, and we need to change with the times.
Okay. Now, whenever you can tell us about the support system, as much as we're talking about all your movements, all your works, the people behind this, the muscle that is actually carrying everything.
So our support system has been there since we started in 2012. And actually every year, shapers around the regions and around the globe actually meet in different regions. And this year, Nairobi was selected to host the regional event, which is Shape Africa. So our partners and our support system has really encouraged us and supported us in making this event coming to fruition in May, which is next month. And some of the pillars of this event are around the SDGs. So we have the UN hosting us in terms of the SDG sustainability. We have the nature conservancy and spreading the awareness of climate change and planting of trees, which is still a pillar within the Nairobi Global Shapers. In terms of mobility and access, we have the newly launched Swivel. I don't know if you've heard of it.
The bus service.
Yes, that makes access and mobility, and you can, schedule your commute without wasting time and stuff like that. In terms of education and the future of work, we have Dalbag, who are supporting us in spreading the fourth industrial revolution, the future of work and stuff like that. So really invite everyone to come to
and support
and participate in this engaging conversation.
Amazing. Now, as much as you have the desire, as much as you're living that kind of responsibility, I'm sure at the long term you have this desire of seeing, wow, whatever I did is still actually being implemented, is still being achieved. What's your desire in the next? Let's give it 5 years. What's your desire?
So my desire is, of course, a better Kenya, a better Africa. And that explains why we bid and won the bid, a very competitive bid to host this event that Mwende has talked about, which is Shape Africa. So we will be bringing shapers from all over Africa and beyond, 200 global shapers. And we will be discussing the growing youthful population. As it is now, it's more of a threat than it is an opportunity. And this was inspired by Asia, Economic Miracle, which was pegged on tapping into their demographic dividend. This is the working population. And when you think about Africa, for instance, East Africa, 45% of the 150 million people are below the ages of 15.
Okay.
So how are we preparing ourselves for these people? Every year we have universities graduating students.
It's true that.
And in 5 years, I will be a mother probably.
Absolutely.
And I want my children to be born in a country, in a continent that has opportunity.
Amen.
So, so we will be having a conversation on this, and we will have policy, industry, and we will have different generations coming together and having this conversation on how can we move Africa forward? How can we tap into the youthful population? How can we create opportunity? How can we even slow down the population growth? Because when you look at countries like China, for instance, they had population control.
I know,
You know, they had the one child per mother, period, unless you pay to get an extra one.
Wow.
And I feel that probably...
we need to... But African society. African society. That will be...
But this is a personal
don't even go there. That will be catastrophic.
And we actually have that conversation coming up next week online. Yes. We'll be talking about reproductive health, because there's no way we can talk about moving Africa forward if we're not thinking about the population.
Controlling our population.
We need to control our population. First, deal with the population that we already have. Provide for it, ensure that we have good education.
Go ye and multiply.
But we need to be honest. We need to have an honest conversation and say that you cannot produce 4 children if you cannot provide for them.
It's true that.
You know, you give birth to 4 children and then say serikali saidia.
African societies, we always take them as security, like sisi from moja mawili, I want to actually give 5.
That's a conversation we need to have. We need to start having that kind of conversation, because if you're saying you want to have 4 children, how much money do you have? Are you going to pay for their education? Are you going to take them to hospital? Are you still going to expect the government? And if government is the one responsible for providing healthcare for you, then I feel government should have a say in the number of children you're giving them.
It's true. So 1? Okay.
No, 2. 2
is okay. Now, I just want to kind of some questions actually by a young lady is actually being asked here. How can they join you? Because I feel like as much as you've talked about all the good things, maybe Wendy can tell us how can they come, of course, be part of you guys?
So as Wandri had said in the beginning, this is a youth movement, and we, to a maximum age of 29, you can join us from 18 years old, and we have applications. If we take in applications every year towards the end.
What are they?
What are the qualifications? Well, at least you must have finished high school.
Your levels, sure.
You must be passionate about change and working with like-minded people who are on the forefront of changing the continent and the globe. And you should be proactive, a youth who is a global citizen and thinks beyond their they dream big and dream large.
Okay, interesting. We mentioned something very sensitive about opportunities, and I like quoting this. Kenya Bureau of Statistics, oh my God, 73% of youths are unemployed. Now, as much as encouraging them to go into business, we don't want them to kind of just dream of sitting behind a desk somewhere, white-collar jobs. Maybe, what's your plan? Because as it is, there's something called, I want to be like person X. You mentioned I want to be a pilot, I want to be an engineer, I want to be a doctor. But you see, maybe your grades didn't allow you to kind of take this direction. But now we're seeing a situation whereby people are giving up big time. I wanted to kind of sit behind a desk somewhere with a tie, with a suit, look good. And now people in the society will see I'm working. I have some work somewhere. Maybe demystifying all this also. Are you part of this agenda?
Before I answer you, let me just add that you can, for you to become a member, just go to www.globalshapers.org and search for Nairobi Hub. As long as you're doing something to impact society, you can be part of us. I am a daughter of a village, a small village at the foot of Mount Kenya, and I'm a member of the Global Shapers community.
Handing over power now.
And I'm handing over power.
You are a leader. You are a leader.
Yes, and I'm handing over to a very phenomenal team. And so this is for everybody who has a passion for a better Africa, a better Kenya. Now, to answer your question, we do not tell stories of people, young people who are doing business. I am an entrepreneur, but we do not tell our stories enough. You find that the media is focused on a different story.
Success stories.
You know?
Yes.
But there are people, young people every day in Kenya and across this continent who are doing a lot of things, however small, but they're making a difference.
Okay.
I have employed staff, and people have employed staff as well. And these are stories that we're not telling. So we need to start telling stories of young people who are starting from zero and rising up. Not the 1 million story, but the story of how they are making it every day, the struggles and the successes. And I feel that will inspire a new generation of people, not the one that wants to get rich overnight, not the one that will go betting, but the ones that are working extra hard every single day because they have a vision of building an empire, a business empire, but they appreciate that it takes time to get there. So, and I challenge you as a people of the media, the fourth estate, you need to tell these stories more and be deliberate about it. And I feel it will change the world. But every day I meet young people, every day I interact with young people, and every day as global shapers, we tell our stories and we tell the real stories. We don't sugarcoat and say, oh, business is sexy. No, we tell the stories of struggle, but we also tell stories of success. We talk about, I'm a member of the Kenya Private Sector Alliance, for instance, and we have challenges accessing capital, for instance. We have challenges with delayed payments. So, and these are things that we push for every day, for better policies, implementation, so that more businesses can come alive and thrive. Because unless there is a conducive business environment, there is only so much that you can do. But you find that many young people are not even taking up businesses because you don't have people funding us.
The capital.
Capital.
Accessing credit.
Yes, you know, and they say you need to have security, you need to have collateral.
At 18 years old, nataka logbook mbili.
Wacha hivyo. Na CRB, unawekwa CRB because of help. Na hauko employed.
Interesting.
You see? So these are things.
So much actually happening.
So these are things that we need to address, but we also need to start telling stories of young people, of women who are doing, young women and men as well, who are doing very, very many things to make this country a better place.
Kazi kwa vijana, youth fund, you know what I mean? All those, a friend of mine called Bonantumi likes saying all those brahaha of things actually coming in, and of course, just to promise youth a better future. But you're seeing a rotation, it's a cycle of the all chaps just coming into leadership. Have you noticed that? Like, you leave this entity, now you're thrown to private sector. Some government affiliated organization somewhere, whereby, for example, I'll take an example, I'll mention names actually. Former Kenya Airways CEO just like Kuni, he's still in leadership somewhere. But I still feel like a young person has this potential to do this. Maybe if you can tell us what needs to be done, because now as much as we are trying to cry foul, unemployment, I'm jobless, the youth are being used kind of badly by politicians, what do you think is the solution? Do we now need to sort ourselves out? Maybe stop now depending on these handouts. And also, kind of now initiate our own, because now we can't access credit. We can't do so much. Solutions here.
Solutions. First thing is getting your name out there. These days we're so obsessed with building our Instagram profile instead of building our LinkedIn profile.
That's powerful. Let's repeat it again. That's powerful. We're interested
in building our Instagram profile and stories instead of building our LinkedIn profile.
Wow. I think misplaced priorities.
Misplaced priorities, that's it. Because the internet is so powerful. You can get your name out there, and there's so many youths out there. And media also has a role to play in getting these names out there, because I don't think it's just a vicious cycle of the names we know. There are some people out there who are making a change, but we just haven't heard about them, and we haven't given them a voice and a platform to present themselves.
Wow. That's a very powerful one, because now even LinkedIn and Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, we're so much into these apps. I'm a victim. I'm so much there. But you see, as much as we sit comfortably on enjoy here and think maybe tomorrow is a new day, there's hope, but then that cycle still comes in. The levels of depression also, shooting, suicidal rates, shooting. Now even as global shepherds, I believe you guys have considered these issues out.
To be honest, every platform that we have, including Instagram, is a powerful platform. Instagram now has the Instagram TV, which allows you to put IGTV, a longer clip. So how do you utilize Instagram? because you can be an influencer on Instagram, and I have seen many people. I follow the Daily Show, for instance, and they are on Instagram. So how are you using this Instagram? Because it can also be a business for you. So what are you doing with the followers that you have? Depression is a reality, and depression is there in Kenya, across the continent, and all over the world, and it's affecting young people. And we are not talking enough. So we look at social media, which is a false life. So I'm going to take a beautiful photo of myself and post it, and you will think that I'm doing very well and I'm happy, which is not the truth. But I feel that young people in our small circles, because this is something very personal, in our small circles, we must be willing to reach out to each other. And I challenge people who call themselves as friends, reach out to each other and just have tea. Have honest conversations, just laugh, go out, drink, do whatever you do for fun. The other one is parents, the role of family. Because when a person gets to a point of committing suicide, it's because nobody is listening.
That's true. That.
And family, you know, my friends may not know me, but my family knows me very, very well. So when I pull out or pull away from them, they need to know that something is actually wrong. So the family also has a big role to play in reaching out to, because the reality is that there are no jobs. People are frustrated. We want to move up very fast, and it's not happening.
Your last sentiments, Mwende?
My last sentiments. I just want to invite everybody for Global Shapers, which is an event happening from the 24th to the 26th of May. We'll be interacting with policymakers, private sectors, change makers, the youth, and we want to drive this conversation on, you know, free African trade, mental health, universal health care, access and mobility, especially for the people in the refugee camps. These are conversations that we should be having, and we should have more. So I would like to direct everybody to www.shapeafrica.co.
Thank you.
So, and the hashtag is #ShapeAfrica2019. We will have online conversations. We have next week, we're talking about the universal health care, specifically reproductive health. We're talking about population. Should we control it? Should we not? So join in. How many children do you want to have? You'll be surprised that some of the very educated people want 6 children, 7 children. But importantly, follow the conversation online. We will be streaming live. We will also, when the D-Day happens, which is 24th to 26th, we will be streaming live. But then importantly, my parting shot is we are the ones we've been waiting for. And we have so much power in us, more than we can imagine. We are the majority. Imagine if we came together. Movement, you know?
It's true.
And there are many challenges, but Africa is the future. It's the present and the future. Everything we need is here. We just need to believe in ourselves, support each other. We are not fighting each other. I love to say we are not fighting each other, we're fighting poverty. So when you rise, I rise as well, because you'll find an opportunity that I can also benefit from.
Thank you so much for coming. Very candid conversation right here. And of course, you've impacted 1 or 2 lives out here in the youths. And I'm sure you guys will actually get some following. You guys will come, interested parties will come, of course, join you guys. All the best.
Thank you very much.
It's good you've handed over power. We're taking a short break, and of course when you come back now, I want to focus on the intersex persons. Sydney and Kwamboka will be in studio to talk about their lives as people living with this condition, and trust me, it's not easy. So all that coming to you after a short break.